This is McCook's Mr. Bill. It is an honor to have you here. This last week we had somebody test out his ability to drive fast. I said speed in this area, and he was moving quite apparently. The law enforcement, they caught him and clocked him at 128 miles an hour. Now that's moving. Absolutely. And of course he was caught. You can't outrun a radio. And with that in mind, his fine was over $700, and he lost all but one of his points on his driver's license. They left him one so he could go back and forth just to work. And of course his insurance got a hold of it, and they jacked up his insurance rates because of that. So keeping that in mind, it's never a good idea to speed. But even I, in my youth, at 19 years old, the only time I got caught for speeding, that's right, I was going 75 miles an hour in a 65 zone, and I got a ticket for it. So angry, I got home. I did not have the Holy Spirit in me, and a lot of naughty words. My father, with a calm voice and intelligence that was beyond his years, without question, and he said, "You don't like getting picked up for speeding, do you?" And I said, "No, sir," along with a bunch of profanity. And he said, I think I've got something that'll make sure that never happens again. Never happens again. And I, being so narrow-minded and full of hate of the cop that had got me, I had to ask the stupid question of, okay, how do I stop from ever getting another ticket? And he said, it's very simple. 2 words. Don't speed. It was so simple that it was ridiculous for me not to have thought about it. And it immediately melted off the hate I had for that cop, though I never liked him after that. But at least I didn't hate him anymore. And from then on, you better believe I did about everything I could to keep under the speed limit. And before they started making cruise controls for cars, and having them in cars automatically, built-in factory, if you will, they had them that you could install. And I bought one of those. That's right. Because once in a while my foot would get kind of heavy. And when you're driving along, it's kind of hard to tell whether you're going 65 and all of a sudden you're going 70, maybe a hair past that, before you realize, hey, it feels faster. And then, I'm going speeding. I could have gotten in trouble. Absolutely. And I owned one of those in the 70s, long before they were, factory built into the cars. Yeah. And my wife's speeding story, well, she was in high school, coming home, and from Benkelman, and she assumed they were Stratton kids that got to chasing her. A couple of cars were chasing her. More than likely, they thought there were Benkelman boys in that car, and they were going to pull them over and beat them up if they could. Of course, it was just her, but she was scared. And on a country road, she was driving 90 mile an hour. 90 mile an hour on a country road. You better believe that was dangerous, but it was fast enough and enough dirt that they couldn't get around her then, in the fog of the dirt. And so she finally got close to her home, but she'd had to pull in and then drive down in there. And what they didn't know, but yet she did, is that the family was gone, so she'd have still been there alone. So she was smart enough to pull in to a house off to the side, and that was one of their hired hands. And so she pulled in his yard and started honking the horn. And of course he looked out and saw those other cars pull in. He had a good idea what might be going on. And so he came out with a shotgun, and they were more than willing and more than ready to get out of there very quickly, rather than to face an adult with a shotgun. Absolutely, because they didn't know, maybe it was his daughter. They didn't know. But needless to say, speeding is never a good idea. And if at all possible, it sure won't look good on any records for a number of years to your insurance company. It's McCook's Mr. Bill, just trying to keep you safe. And I bet even a few of you, though, have bent the rules when it comes to speeding. Thank you for your time.